We're talking all week about your plan. And I'm curious, as we're getting close to the end of this year, have you started thinking about your plan for next year? Or are you not at that point yet? And if so, when do you start thinking about your plan for next year? We'll talk about that and more on episode 716 of today's Antidote. So think about that for a minute, what your response would be, and we'll dive into that discussion in just a minute.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
You know, today is, Tom.
Wednesday?
No, it is the busiest travel day of the year.
I thought it was the busiest bar day of the year.
Probably, although I
Or
will.
it's Friday.
No, actually, if you talk to bar owners, the ones that stay open tomorrow will tell you about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening. They get packed, but with people that just can't stand their families anymore and drink pretty heavily. You can see some good bar fights on a Thanksgiving evening. I've been to a couple bars over the years. People's emotions are pent up. They had that long drive on Wednesday because it is the busiest travel day of the year. Whether you're train, plane, automobile, or your electric bicycle, you're going to find extra people on the roads. The grocery stores are packed with people getting the turkey and ham because, well, it's not like they knew that Thanksgiving was coming tomorrow. I mean, it is a fairly well-kept secret.
I hope you're not going out trying to find a turkey tomorrow.
I personally am not, but I'm sure there are plenty of people looking for turkeys at this very moment and going, I'm going to go get a turkey. I bet I can beat everyone to the Walmart or the Kroger's or whatever it is before work today. And I'll get a turkey because they probably stocked them overnight. Only to realize that there are plenty of other people with that same mindset. And then compounding things, of course, a lot of kids have a half day of school around the country.
Sure. Some are off.
Some are off. Yep. It's a wild time. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
A day early.
Happy, cheerful opening.
Right. Well, hopefully everybody who's out on the road traveling travels safely. I had to go pick our kids up, our son and his fiance up at the train station last night. And
okay.
It was people were a little all over the place. I think they're starting to get crazy. So yes. Good time to stay off the roads.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Good morning and welcome to today's Antidote, our day before Thanksgiving episode. Each week, Bob and I have a conversation around a topic. This week's topic, as I mentioned, is your plan. And today we're going to discuss next year. Have you thought about it? Are you thinking about it? When will you start? All really good questions to ponder, and we'll talk through that in just a minute. And as we have that discussion, if you have thoughts or ideas that you would like to share, please feel free to put them in the comments of whatever social media you happen to be following us on, whether it is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
LinkedIn Live, baby. Yes, indeed. We welcome those comments because we know that it'll add value to our show. At the conclusion of the conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote. That thing that we hope, if you're stuck trying to figure out about your plan next year, will help you move forward. Take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. And of course, if you have an antidote for today that you would like to share, we would love for you to share it in the comments as well. As we know that, while Bob and I offer great value, you might share the one thing that someone is desperately seeking. So don't hesitate to share it. Put it out there in the comments, and hopefully you'll help someone figure out how to achieve the success that they desire.
Before we dive, a comment from Stephen this morning. Thank you for your show.
You're welcome, Stephen. Thank you for listening, watching, paying attention. We appreciate it.
He's a very consistent viewer, I think.
He is a very consistent viewer. All right. Well, before we dive into our conversation around your plan in next year, we are going to share our celebrations like we do every morning. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
So yesterday I was talking to someone and they said, "Hey, it's funny that I'm talking to you right now." And I said, "Oh, why is that?" And they said, "Because I'm actually downloading a whole bunch of your podcasts to my phone so that when I'm driving over the next couple of days, I can catch up. I'm a couple weeks behind. I've been really busy with the work project and I just wanted to catch up." And at first, me being the never believing type, I was like, "No, seriously, what?" And he was like, "No, really, I think I'm on like episode 658 and you're in what, the 700s?" And I said, "Yeah, we're in the 700s." He said, "So I've probably downloaded 15 of them and they're going to be my background as I drive around over the next couple of days." So it goes to your point about you don't know the value you create for people until someone mentions to you that they see great value in the things you do. And I didn't really have an answer to that one. I was like, "Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate your interest. It's really great." And so the other thing I'll say is if you're driving around over the next couple of days, you can catch up. You can go back. You can pick a topic for a week, download all of those. If you're having an issue, it's probably in our catalog. We've only got how many weeks are we at? Probably 150, 140 weeks by now. So there's got to be something that you're going through. I know when I look back, I'm surprised at how many of the things we talked about a year or two ago still apply to what I deal with. And they just cycle through and oh, wow, that's a great topic. So little FYI and a shout out to him. And he asked me not to mention his name to anyone.
Oh,
and
okay.
I honored that. So
fair enough.
He said this, he called it a secret weapon, in fact.
Really? A secret weapon?
Yes.
So he's found some value from it.
He's found some value. Yes, exactly.
Excellent.
So how about you? What do you celebrate this morning? Besides, I'm sure you're celebrating what I just told you, because that's really
nice,
hear,
absolutely.
right?
Yes. Yeah, that's I always, I always think it's great when people share that with us. And it just reinforces to me that we need to keep putting it out there because people, whatever our value is that we have, because
anyone, right? Not just you and me, right?
Correct. Because it allows others out there are consuming it and it's having an impact on them. And, we wouldn't want to be the one who takes away what might be the one thing that they're desperately seeking. Even if they don't come back and tell us that's the case. Again, I probably don't know this person. Maybe I do,
No,
maybe I don't. And he probably would never come up to me and say that. So it's great to know that. It was nice to hear it. And
he probably wouldn't have told me unless I was just reaching out, because I've been trying to reach out to people more and rekindling relationships that I've gotten busy. Just, you get busy with things. And this was someone that I hadn't had the opportunity to talk to in a while.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
And it's during Thanksgiving week when nothing happens, according to some people. So, here I am actually making something happen.
I like it.
How about you?
Well, I'm going to celebrate that all of our kids were home and our soon-to-be newest member of the family.
And I assume you have 3 kids and a newest member of your family all sleeping at this hour.
No.
Oh.
One is already out the door. One does a lot of work with horses.
Okay.
So about the same time we're getting ready to start this show, she's heading out the door to go take care of some horses.
Wow.
So, yes.
That's cold.
Yeah, it is. No doubt. She's got the clothes for it, sort of. I mean, it makes for a long day. Anyhow, so we had them all home and we had a nice sit-down dinner. My father-in-law actually brought up lasagna that we consumed last night. And afterwards, the kids and I played a board game, Cheaters Monopoly, or it was Monopoly the Cheaters edition. I don't know. Interesting. And it's funny how uniting is not necessarily the word I'm thinking of, although that's what's popping in my head. But it's interesting how it brings you all together and usually leads to a laugh or some other thing that makes for an enjoyable evening. And it's funny, you think about board games only as kids things, young kids. My kids are all out of college. And in reality, it's actually something that everybody can enjoy and find a way to have a little fun doing. So I'm enjoying that opportunity and looking forward to other games that will be coming in the next few days.
Well, and isn't that what Thanksgiving's really all about? Being around family and friends that you want to spend time with and telling the old stories and finding new things. And yeah,
Yes,
that's
indeed.
great.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. All right. So now let's dive into our conversation about your plan and next year. So I'm curious, Bob, and I know a little bit of the answer to this. Have you dived into your plan for next year? And what are
Well,
your thoughts about it?
the plan you and I put together, probably now it's been 3 months, is a plan that goes into next year. But I don't feel real comfortable with it as a plan for next year. In fact,
Really?
no. And because some things have changed, because I have more information than I had then. There are several variables that we said need, these were areas to work on, and I've made some accomplishments in a couple of those that change it a bit. That's why I'm, at the risk of giving a shameless plug, I'm looking forward to December 8th and the workshop that we're going to do, because you're going to lead the part in planning for what's coming up, your next big goal. And I've already got my next big goal lined up, and I can't wait to sit there and go through the process again and refine what we worked on a couple of months ago. Not to say it's not working. It's just, I think with 2 big variables resolved, it gets me closer to what I want to do. And I think there's a shift that has to happen. But as far as like a firm plan for next year, I don't really have a revenue goal. I don't have those things figured out yet. I'm really still trying to work through November, if I'm being honest. My goal is to get somewhere with November, and then it'll be to get somewhere with December. As we do that workshop, I'll probably look forward to next year. But I'm very good at planning. If I get bogged down in planning, I can plan forever and never execute. So I'm trying really hard this week to be in the execution mode. And that's what led to that discussion yesterday. That was really a great discussion that may have other possibilities, just because I reached out to someone who I hadn't talked to in, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And just, hey, what's going on? I was going through my phone, hadn't talked to you in a while. Just wanted to catch up. Happy Thanksgiving. And if you have a minute, I'd love to hear what's going on. And it wasn't a Bob sales call. It was literally, how are you doing? Oh, that sounds great. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, your daughter got married last summer. Send me a photo. It was that kind of discussion. Then, how's your work going? Oh, it's going okay. There are some areas I'm still working through. And then he brought up, I met him at a conference, and he said, I still think about what you said at that conference. And it led from there. And then he's like, so what are you up to? Are you still speaking? Are you still doing this stuff? So it wasn't, I think sometimes people are thinking that you have that very aggressive, hi, this is Bob and I coach and I haven't talked to you in 3 years. You must need coaching because it's been 3 years and I want to help you. It was so the opposite of that. Like, I don't think we talked for about 25 minutes. I think I spoke about what I do for maybe 30 seconds. And most of it was in response, all of it was in response to his asking me.
Yeah.
Hey, who are you working with these days? Well, I'm doing this, this, and this. And so you have a captive audience. There's a little hint for someone if you're trying to figure out how these calls go. And this is a great time of year to have them, because you could be like, I was thinking, it turned out the conference that I met him at was right at this time of year. It was the week before Thanksgiving. So he's like, yeah, I always think of you, because we went out and had beverages at a bar and goofed off a little bit, nothing crazy, but we got to know each other in that way. And so it just was a matter of me being able to go to my notes, and thank goodness for a customer relations management system, because I had really nice notes that I could literally tell you what he drank, what I drank, what the name of the bar was. Because he's like, what was the name of that place? I'm like, I think it was. He's like, yeah, that sounds right. I'm like, well, let me tell you this. I have a little cheat. I wrote notes. He's like, oh, see, that's why you're good at what you do. I would never think to write notes about that.
Yeah. That
And
can be really helpful.
and it also, for him, it was like, this mattered. The fact that this guy wrote notes and could bring it up, it said this was something that, because think about it, if you write a note about something, it means you care.
Sure.
My notebook's not full of junk. It's full of things that matter to me. So for him to make it into my notes, and I think, so when we're planning, it's interesting because he's in one of the industries that I've wanted to focus on. And in our discussion, he gave me a couple of tidbits that will help me better understand that industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it was developed over, being a couple of years ago. And me, after I got off the phone with him, my first reaction was, I should have been calling this guy every 3 to 6 months. Shame on me for not doing it. And I think we probably all have someone like that. And that's going to help with my planning going forward, because I'm gathering information about this industry, and there's a resource, and he actually gave me a name of 2 other people to call. And already this morning, he connected me with one of them with a text and said, hey, this is a guy, I don't know if you've ever seen him speak. He's really great. He's thoughtful. He really cares about what we're doing. You should talk to him. So nice. A simple call led to some really great positive feedback, some really great interaction. I bet he would tell you that the call was really valuable to him because he had an issue. And he's like, it's funny, you're calling me. I have this one issue. You could probably help me resolve it in like 30 seconds. And it was a simple thing to me, but to him, he was just stuck.
Sure.
So a really nice collaborative phone call that on a week when I've had 5 or 6 people tell me, oh, it's not even worth calling someone. Mm-hmm. It turns out it was the perfect week for him because their shop wasn't working. So he didn't have the usual management issues of operating a shop. He just had, I'm the owner and I'm trying to play catch up, and there's no one here to answer the phone. So I'm going to answer the phone. Yeah. And lo and behold, and we have this discussion.
That's great.
Yeah. So, and I know I've gotten off topic, but I think it does fit into this as we're looking at our plan for next year, gathering information, not doing it in isolation, and maybe calling some people, calling your customers, calling your clients and saying, hey, I'm starting to plan for next year. What could I do to make your life easier? I've done that in the past. One of my customers was like, I want to pay with a credit card. I don't want to pay with a check. I get points. I use those points to send my employees on travel. Make that happen, Bob. So that got added to the list that year. Another year, someone's like, I really would like to sequence our meetings differently. Okay. So I think part of the planning, we always think about planning as I've got to do it all myself. But we can certainly seek others' input. Doesn't mean you have to do it, and I've had people tell me over the years, like, well, I'm not going to ask my customers because they're all going to tell me to lower the price. I'd actually, if all my customers told me I needed to lower my price, that would really tell me something that I would really want to focus on for next year. That would be feedback that could be really valuable. Like, okay, they don't see the value. There's a disconnect here. How do I fix that? So as we plan, I think there's some pre-planning that we have to do. And that's what I'm trying to do at this point in the year for next year. How about you? You have it mapped out for next year, every little minute, right?
No. It's just interesting because I've been thinking about it though. Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about, this year and starting to think about what do I want next year to look like. And I think it's, for me, it's one of those processes of it's going through my head a lot. To me, it's kind of, and I'm, as I'm one of those people who is a little more last minute. And some people would say it's procrastination. And I think it's a little bit more that it's always rolling around in my head. Like I've been thinking over the last few days a little bit because I knew we were talking about this topic about, where do I want to go next year? And there's some things in my head that I've been trying to figure out. a little bit, or at least trying to give a little more thought to. I mean, I think that it's a little early for me to start doing the plan because I still think there's things to be done. And maybe that's a little bit about how it falls for many people. If you feel like you still have some things undone, it's hard to, or still things yet to come, it's hard to move forward and really think about next year until you get through those things. And it's interesting. I was actually thinking about that with some of my nonprofit clients. They might be so wrapped up in, what are we going to do for Giving Tuesday? What are we going to do for, do we have our year end squared away? That
if we send an email every Thursday, do we send it out on Thanksgiving Day?
Right.
Those logistical things. Yeah.
Right. And so it's hard for them to really start thinking about what next year might look like. Unless they have a larger staff and, their team is working on that and they're now starting to think forward around what next year might start to look like, or what the planning we want to do, or in the process of reviewing this year, which is really a part of how do we start next year. I was talking with somebody last night, one of our Renegade Success Network members, who I think is at that point where he's very close to start thinking about next year. And that he feels like he's got a couple of things he's got to wrap up over the next week or week and a half. And then he's ready to move on and ready to start thinking about what does that look like. So much so that the idea is not to do a lot of work over the holidays or do whatever that, looks like. And we talked about, okay, well, if that's your plan, how do you set some boundaries so that you don't find yourself just trapped with, oh, I got to go down and just do this one thing. What is allowable in that regard? And I just thought it was interesting that they were at a point where they felt like, okay, once I'm this week and a half, I can now start to move on. And before I move on, one of the things I really want to do is take some time and just sort of enjoy the holidays and not feel so stressed about all the different things I have to do with work. So I think that's, a fascinating thing about as you start to think about next year and what that looks like is when is in your process, when do you start putting that together? And I think, as you mentioned, I think that December 8th is a good opportunity. Then hopefully many people either have things in place for the end of the year, or they have sort of finished the big things that they had to do, and they can start to at least begin to consider what next year might look like.
Wow, that's a lot there. You ready for your one thing?
Not yet. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay. I think my one thing is that it's okay if you haven't started looking at your plan for next year. That's allowable. And I also think part of that planning is thinking about what, gathering the feedback in preparation for that planning. And that second one probably feeds the excitement around planning. For me, the feedback I got from this person yesterday really made me think about our podcast in a different way. It also made me think about some other things that I was kind of noodling through in different ways. So now I have more information. I think so often we tend to plan based on what we had in place a year ago. My sales goal was X. Well, it's a new year. It's got to be X plus 20%. Versus I went in this direction. 80% of my business is in this one sector, and I really like working in that sector. Boy, wouldn't it be great if next year it could be 100% in that sector because I really like it. It just fits me like a glove. Well, if that's the case, okay, that could be a plan. And I think almost all of us are guilty of not spending enough time planning beyond today, this week, or over planning and not executing. So we're in that kind of weird spot right now where we're saying, look ahead to next year, start thinking about next year, but not at the sacrifice of, oh, well, I spent all of December planning. I didn't do anything. Well, the holidays were there. I couldn't make calls. I couldn't do this. You've got to thread the needle and do some of each.
Or be comfortable with that's the way it is. Right. Again, like the person I was talking about, they were very comfortable that from around December 15th to the end of the year, they weren't going to do a whole lot. They felt like they had a good year, had a lot of things happen. Obviously there are other things they would like to do, and felt like they were in a position that they could do that. And I guess that might be my one thing as I think about it, is where you're at is kind of where you're at. And don't let
that, Tom. That one I'm going to give you. Where you're at is where you're at. Folks, you heard it here first.
And, don't let what others are doing make you feel like you're ahead or behind. The fact that we're even talking about it now, somebody might look at this and be like, oh my God, how can you even be thinking about next year? I've still got, again, I got to get through Small Business Saturday and then Cyber Monday. And then I've got my year-end plans. I can't even begin to think about next year. And I think that's
today with my kids off of school and I've got to run a business.
Sure.
Or lead a team. Sure.
There's lots of things that can get in people's way of doing it. And I think that's okay. And I think, I think it goes back to the whole thing about judgment is don't judge where you're at based on where somewhere else is at. As my coach would say, and I'm going to quote her, so it's not me really using this word, is that your timing is perfect for where you are and where you're at. And I like the quote. I think I would change the last word just for me, but I was sharing their quote. And I think that has a lot of value, is that you're where, you don't have to be where everyone else is. You have your own timeline. You have your own unique pathway, and wherever you are along it is what's real for you. And I think that at the same time, I think there's nothing wrong with letting thoughts of next year run through your head if that's where you're at, or that you, because of your team size or your resources or just the way your year is, you're already into the deep planning process of next year. So just let your pathway be your own, and you're wherever you are on it as you try to achieve the success that you desire.
Same thing as you travel today. Your pathway is your own.
Well, likely if you're traveling, there's a lot of other people on traveling concurrently on parts of your pathway.
But think about how we plan that trip. I've talked to people, they're like, we're going to leave at 3 p.m. because we want to get past this area by 4:30. And people, I'm going to leave at 8 p.m. because all the traffic will be gone. We do a lot of planning around travel. I'm not so sure we all do as much planning around our business or our leadership, right?
It's possible. So everyone is unique. Some will, some won't.
Some will, some won't. That's right.
All right, folks, if you have your one thing you'd like to share, please feel free to put it in the comments. We know that it'll add value to the show. If you've been like the person Bob talked to and you've been downloading our podcast and there's no place to comment, we have a place. You can, if you're a LinkedIn person, go to LinkedIn, the Renegade Success Network for Leaders group. You can share your thoughts and ideas, your antidote there. If you're a Facebook person, join us in the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where you can share that antidote inside of that group. And there's a pretty good chance that you'll see what others are sharing and it'll have an impact on what's real for you. So we look forward to seeing you inside those groups. If not, we will see you tomorrow, Turkey Day, in the United States, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, for our next episode of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you and be careful out on the roads today. Take the extra 10 minutes. Don't rush. Let those people merge. Let them do their crazy stuff. You work on just trying to be safe.
I like that. And if you do that, you'll go out and make it a great day. We'll see you soon, everyone. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.